I didn't.
Musky! Musky! Musky!
What's up, yins, guys? Welcome back to Fishing PA with Ryan Reed. Well, it's been an extremely long work week. I got my glass of bourbon here, and I am ready to talk some fishing. In tonight's episode, we're going to really focus on some key resources, some upcoming events, and we're going to talk about some baits surrounding the world of musky fishing. All right, guys, before we get started, I just want to give you some background on me as a musky fisherman. Now, I really started fishing for muskie and pike approximately 4 years ago. I started fishing more with Dan. We had our first Canadian adventure, and that week changed my fishing life forever. Now, in that first week up in Canada, I caught over 300 pike, and I was instantly hooked. Now, this ultimately led to me getting into musky fishing and really starting off by going to some of the outdoor shows, like Musky Max. And I can remember years back, Dan took me to the Butler High School for one of those shows, and it was just kind of so exciting and so interesting to see some of these really big baits when I was brought up to use really small baits or basically a bobber and a hook. So with that said, I've learned a lot of lessons with musky fishing the hard way. Now, some of that is just plain inexperience, like holding your rod tip way in the air like a bass fisherman. Or some of it was me not understanding why I needed to keep my hook sharpened, or how to use or tie an appropriate knot when you're throwing some of these larger baits. I've gone through a lot of growing pains, and I've learned a tremendous amount about the sport of musky fishing. And ultimately, it's leading to me kind of understanding and really starting to kind of see and contact more fish. However, I am extremely passionate about the sport of musky fishing. It is really addicting, and it's just really a fantastic aspect of the fishing world because it's not only challenging, but it really offers you just a completely different style of fishing when you talk about trolling versus casting. And when you guys actually hook and land your first fish, I promise you, it changes your fishing life. It's like nothing you've ever experienced. To feel those head shakes, to really battle a fish like that, and to get a fish like that in the net, it's just, to me, it's a tremendous trophy that really needs to be protected. So that kind of leads me into what I wanted to talk about tonight. I want to talk about some resources that I found beneficial when I started getting into the sport of musky fishing. I want to talk about some events that are coming up that might be helpful to you guys. And then I also want to talk about some baits that I'm really excited to use in 2019 because I believe that I'm going to be able to pop a few fish on these particular baits throughout the year. All right, guys, the first thing I want to talk about is Musky Hunter magazine. Now, many of you already know that Tony Grant and Greg Thomas took over Musky Hunter. I believe it was fall of last year, and they really have recently changed the look and feel and really the dynamic of the magazine. Now, I gotta say, I got a first glance at it at the Ohio show, and I thought it looked great. I love the cover. I kind of browsed through it quickly. I love the content, and I really love the way it was laid out. However, I have an online subscription. I was able to download it here on my iPad. If you guys can see that. Now, I gotta say, to me, this is one of the best articles of Musky Hunter magazine that I have read. But what I really like about Tony Grant and Greg Thomas's approach is they've basically added 10 new departments, some of which are for educational purposes and some of which are for entertainment purposes. I feel that this format really kind of helps me learn more and learn new things about not only muskies in general in the sport of musky fishing, but it really kind of brings it closer to home when you start looking at some of the regional breakdowns. Because it kind of gives you some different flavors of different regions and how people are catching muskies, not just in the Midwest. Now, as I mentioned before, Greg Thomas and Tony Grant really put an emphasis on by the musky fisherman for the musky fisherman. And I really appreciated that through this entire article. So again, if you guys are looking to get in the sport of musky fishing, Musky Hunter magazine is such an awesome starting point for you guys to go out, pick one up, Read through that bad boy and learn something new. It's only going to contribute to you guys developing as an angler. All right, guys, next thing I want to talk about is the Muskies Inc. Now, Muskies Inc. is such an important organization when it comes to the sport of musky fishing. Muskies Inc. is an organization that promotes a high-quality musky fishery. Muskies Inc. supports musky conservation and promotes musky research. Also, Muskies Inc. contributes to the stocking effort through hatcheries and rearing ponds. Muskies Inc. also maintains records on habits, growth, and the range of the muskies, as well as disseminating musky information. Bottom line here, guys, is Muskies Inc. fights for the muskie and for you as a musky fisherman. Now, whether you guys are serious, experienced musky fishermen, or you're someone like me who's relatively new to the sport, Muskies Inc. is really an awesome organization for you to get involved in. If you guys go out and get a membership for about $45, a lot of times at some of these outdoor shows, they'll give you a free lure, but you also get a subscription to the magazine, and you also get a Muskies Inc. calendar. So for $45, you guys can contribute to the conservation of the muskie and really help a good organization out to continue to protect that fish so that we can have awesome fisheries for years to come. All right, guys, we have a couple of events coming up here in the Pittsburgh area that are really going to benefit you as a musky fisherman, or even somebody, again, trying to get into the sport. First and foremost, February 10th in McKees Rocks, Tony Grant and Greg Thomas is holding the Musky Road Rules Clinic. Now, I am super excited about Musky Road Rules. I'm actually so excited that I signed up last September. I paid my $35. I have my PayPal receipt, and I am so looking forward to the opportunity of learning from Greg Thomas and Tony Grant. We're talking about two professionals in the sport of musky fishing that are really so immersed in the sport, and really, they are just fantastic fishermen. I have the utmost respect for both of those individuals because they've always been super pleasant to talk to at the shows. They provide you guys with a ton of information, and these road rules are just designed to help you guys develop as a musky fisherman. So you guys should check out Musky Road Rules. Go to their website, look at the dates, check it out for $35. You guys can be involved in this clinic and really just learn something new that's going to help you develop as a fisherman. Also, one more plug for Musky Road Rules. Greg and Tony have a podcast. Go out and check out their podcast. There's a lot of good information that they give you. They give you a lot of good fishing reports, and they have some really awesome guests on that show. It's definitely worth listening to their podcast for you guys to learn something new. One other upcoming event that I am super pumped about is the Musky Max, and this year it's the Musky Max Plus. Now, Sean and Todd Leopardi, they put on such an awesome show. Musky Max is by far my favorite outdoor show for the entire year. The show really has a lot of heavy hitters when it comes to lure and product makers, but they also do a great job with their seminars. The seminars is a key aspect to outdoor shows like this because it gives you guys the opportunity to, again, learn something new. In addition to that, this is your opportunity to get out to these shows, talk to some really awesome professionals in the sport of musky fishing, and really talk about techniques and lakes and products and guide trips and all sorts of stuff surrounding the sport of musky fishing. These are your opportunities to get out because the musky community is so small. You guys can walk up to some of the best fishermen in the entire world and talk to them one-on-one, get their opinions, and again, get really solid information that's going to help you guys develop. So check out Musky Max. You guys will not be disappointed. All right, guys, so I want to talk about some baits for 2019. Now, it's worth me mentioning, I've made a couple of comments in previous videos, even back last year, where I was talking about the overall price of baits. I was kind of concerned when I initially started musky fishing because it's really intimidating for me, coming from the bass world, to see a bait that's like 35, 45 bucks. You know, I was like, totally blown away by this. I'm looking at this high-end bait and I'm thinking, I'll never spend $45 on a bait. There's no way that's going to happen. You know, I've made comments about Wileys. I've made comments just in general about spending X amount of dollars on stuff. You know, all in all, I am a huge idiot. So what I've learned as I've progressed through musky fishing and really going to these shows every year and talking to vendors, some of these baits are really worth the overall price that you're paying. Now, some people may disagree with that. However, one of the other reasons I started making my own lures this winter was really to kind of get a feel for that process and what it takes to make a fishing lure. It's not just the personal goal that I set for myself of catching a fish on my own bait. It was really for me to experience that and for me to put something together that would give me some perspective on what it actually takes to build a lure. And, a combination of that and really just understanding and learning through the last couple of years, I can tell you that I was absolutely wrong in my first assessment. Baits like Wiley's, baits like, the Bakers and the Boss Shads, they are completely worth the price that you guys pay. You guys pay for the action of the bait, the profile of the bait, and of course, those amazingly beautiful paint jobs. But some of these baits just produce fish. And it's worth it if you guys think about it. Instead of buying 5 or 6 or 7 baits at $15 or $20 a pop and maybe producing on them versus buying a $35 or a $45 bait that is proven to catch fish, that's where I've changed my way of thinking. So really what I wanted to talk about, I wanted to focus on to show you guys a couple of these baits just so you can get some perspective on this. So I'm really excited about this first one. I want to show you this. Now I showed this bait during the Ohio video I did recently, but I just honestly cannot stop looking at it. It is so gorgeous. It's amazing. The paint jobs, the profile. I so badly want to get another one of these. This is the Zack Baker Musky lure, and this is that Goldie pattern. So you guys can see that profile. You can see that color. This baby retailed for more than I want to say, but I can tell you this bait's going to be run a tremendous amount in 2019, especially on these Chautauqua. Now, I also want to share with you guys another bait that I just started investing in. This bait has produced a lot of muskies over a lot of years, and for some reason, I just wasn't willing to spend the money. But again, changing my way of thinking. Boss Shad. Boss Shad is one of the best baits on the market. Boss Shad is made in Ohio. It catches a ton of fish everywhere. The profile of these little 4.5-inch baits, this is their Goldie pattern, Boss Shad. Just an absolute sick profile, sick paint job, and the action on these things are killer. I cannot wait to get them in the water. This is another 4.5, again, Chautauqua sucker pattern. You can see the Boss Shad logo. These baits at $35 a piece, they are completely worth putting in your arsenal because you can get 1 or 2 or 3 of these baits. You're going to have them forever, and they're going to produce fish. So, I started off with the 4.5, so I'm going to run those things like crazy. But I wanted to show you guys, I just got this in the mail today, and I was so excited. I've been trolling his website for like 5 days now, looking for an opportunity to get this color, and it just so happens that I was able to get it in a 7-inch. Now this is the Boss Shad 7 in the sexy perch pattern. You guys can take a look at that. Look at the top of that baby. Awesome color. And it reminds me of, basically a perch pattern. It's what it is, but it kind of looks somewhat like Fire Tiger. Now the glitter in this, the profile, they're just absolutely beautiful. These things, they're just amazing. And for the price of them, if you guys are fishing from a boat, you have a good lure knocker, it is completely worth investing in some of these baits. If you got 1 or 2 of these, you could fish these things all year long. Maybe get 1 4.5, 1 7. You can fish them all year long. The profiles are good to fish all year long, and they really just produce fish. So really, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about these baits. I think these are going to continue to be high-end producers. A lot of guys already knew about these baits. I kind of knew about them, but again, I wasn't really willing to spend the money. I'm glad I spent the money on them this year. I actually sold a tremendous amount of musky lures on eBay over the last couple of months, which kind of made up for some of the cost here. And again, it's just the confidence level in a bait that you guys know produces fish. So again, from my perspective, I've changed my methodology. I'm going with some higher end baits that are proven to catch fish, and I cannot wait to get these things in the water. All right, guys, one more plug that I'm going to wrap this thing up. If you guys want an awesome resource for the sport of musky fishing, the FAT AZ Musky Podcast. You know, Andy, Vance, and Todd, they're just excellent fishermen. They give you really awesome perspectives on the sport of musky fishing. They focus on fishing, which is a huge selling point for me. They're really funny. The episodes are just jam-packed full of good information. They have awesome guests on. Again, you guys can get anything from a podcast on the biology of the fish, you know, to talking about shad baits, you know, to talking about river and creek fishing. They cover a lot of different aspects of the musky world, and they are really just fantastic resources for you guys. And also, go out on our website, check out the FAT AZ Raptor. That is one of the best jerk baits on the market. It's one of the easiest jerk baits to use on the market. So for those of you kind of beginning, again, getting into the sport of musky fishing, if you're looking at jerk baits, I recommend you go over and you take a look at the FAT AZ Raptors. They're going to be really good to you, and they're really forgiving, and they just have awesome colors in general. So you guys go out, check out FAT AZ, go out to their website, check their podcast out. Awesome, awesome stuff. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys found some of this information to be beneficial. My goal with this was just to give you some random information about the sport of musky fishing and really just to kind of blow off steam. I just really wanted to talk about muskies. I really wanted to take a look at some of these new baits, like this new boss shad that I got in the mail today. Super exciting. So if you guys like this video, go and hit that like button for me. If you guys like this content overall, please subscribe to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, tight lines. We'll see you next time.
I was excited.
Oh, you got me so amped up. Why did you do that? How many times have I done that? Like this morning, I'm like, fish, nope, weed.